We're going to go ahead and get started since it's 8 o'clock. Welcome to the virtual open house for the University of Rochester Orthopedics program. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the chief residents this year. There's going to be a few of us who will kind of talk through this PowerPoint and this presentation. I think Dr. McDowell, our program director, is on, and we'll get us started.
Hi, I hope you can see me and hope you can hear me. Forgive my voice. Um, I was ill and have had trouble getting my voice back. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time tonight to visit with us and see what our program here at University of Rochester has to offer. Our residents have uh, given us a great roadmap for giving you a feel of our residency program. And they've taken the lead on this I think they're proud to show you what we're all about here at University of Rochester. I'll stay on the line for any questions you might have for me, but I want to give them the chance to show you what they have.
All right. So just to get started, so these are the two people I wanted to showcase to start. So this is Dr. Rubery, who's the chair of the department. Dr. McDowell, who is just speaking, is our residency program director. She's also the chief of the tumor division. So Thomas Rodenhouse is going to get started and just talk a little bit about Rochester, the region.
Hi, everybody. My name's Thomas. I'm a PGY4. I grew up in Rochester, went away for college and did my med school in DC, and then I was fortunate to be able to come back. So Rochester, we're located in Western New York. We're the fourth largest city in New York State. We got about just over 200,000 people living in the Rochester city proper, but over 1 million people in the region. Bless you. Um, Rochester, it's an awesome place to live. It was an awesome place to grow up. We got a lot of arts and culture. Starting with the George Eastman School of Music, it's affiliated with the University of Rochester. We also have the RPO. We get free tickets as residents whenever you want to go. You can contact the department, and they can get us tickets if you wanted to go and see a show. We have the Jiva Theater, Memorial Art Gallery. We did our Christmas party there this past week or this past year. And then other things that we're known for, we have the Kodak Center. Kodak actually started in Rochester, and then we also have the Rochester City Ballet. Good. A lot of local sports teams. We do have AAA baseball, the Rochester Red Wings, then AHL hockey, the Americans. They're affiliated with the Buffalo Sabres. In terms of larger sports teams, the Buffalo Bills are right down the road, as well as the Sabres. If you ask anybody in Rochester, they'd be huge Bills fans, and I think we're organizing a bus trip to all get together on one of our weekends off, and we're going to try to get as many residents to go to a Bills game as possible. In terms of other things to do within the community, Rochester has a lot of festivals. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. Lilac Festival usually kicks off the summer, and it's in late May. Usually there's a lot of bands that come out and play. The picture on the top right is actually from this past year's Lilac Festival. There's other festivals that go on throughout the spring, summer, and fall, including the Jazz Festival, which you can see in the bottom right, Cornhill Arts Festival, Park Ave Fest, and then the Fairport Music Festival. That's showcased in the bottom left there. That's just one of the 4 or 5 stages that they have by the Erie Canal, and they have local artists come and play one weekend in August, and it's always a lot of fun. Other things around Rochester, the top left picture, I think it's just one of the coolest spots in Rochester. It's taken from the top of the Genesee Brew House in downtown. It's right by High Falls. There's a bridge you can see on the right side of that picture that actually connects that area to the downtown, and you can walk to the Red Wings game from there. other spots that aren't too far away. Canandaigua Lake, you can see in the bottom left and then top right pictures. I actually took that picture of one of our attendings, Dr. Voloshin. He's wake surfing. He took a couple of us out on his boat. Like I said, there's something to do no matter what you like, what season it is. Bristol is the local ski mountain, but no matter the season, there's always something to do around here. So.
All right. So I'll start talking about the department and the educational program here. So our department has, I think, over now 40, maybe even 50 attendings who work here full time on staff. We cover almost all of them, with the exception of a very small handful that work in some of the satellite facilities. You can see that this slide and the following slide, we're pretty filled out in every division. All the subspecialties are well represented here. Click ahead. This is a composite of all the residents at the program. So with Derek included on the top left, this is our program has 40 or 41 residents for the research year. So by the numbers, there were some questions that we got regarding just the makeup of the program and the residents and where they come from. So about almost half of the residents who are here now did a sub internship as medical students. 20% of our residents are female, and about a quarter of our residents come from New York State. However, the majority of us come from not New York State. And as you can see here, we have people coming from pretty far and wide, as far as California, and even one of our residents is from Puerto Rico. In Rochester, so about a third of us own a home and the rest rent. One of the great things about being here is the low cost of living. I showed a map of where most of the current residents live. Some of this includes residents who graduated in the past year. And one of the nice things about this place and the clinical sites where we work is that nothing is really more than like a 10 to 20-minute drive, which makes life very easy and convenient when you're working the long hours that we do. It's just kind of a side benefit that I didn't really think about when I was considering programs and where to choose. So some more details about the university itself. So this is the primary, so it's the only trauma center in the Rochester area. This is it's like the number one or the number two busiest trauma center in all of New York State. My understanding is that we go back and forth. It's between us and Albany. We see over 6,000 orthopedic consults per year between the two facilities that we cover. And like I was mentioning before, one of the great things about this place is that we have faculty in all subspecialties. I think one of the positives about this place is that you'll hear about this place is that it's a very well-balanced program. And you can see that in the representation across all the different divisions. Just as a side note, we've had attendings and former residents who are well represented across national leadership organizations, department chairs, editors of editorials and journals and things like that. So, where we actually work, we have a couple of clinical sites. So the three primary ones are Strong Memorial Hospital, Highland Hospital, and this facility, which we're calling the AOC and Marketplace. Strong is our primary level 1 trauma center where we get the bulk of our trauma experience, as well as other rotations that will do cases there. Highland is about a mile or two from Strong, but it's where we get the majority of our arthroplasty experience. It's also the geriatric fracture center and really just a community hospital. So you see everything there as well. Not necessarily with the acuity that you might get at Strong, but it's still an excellent experience. We spend a significant amount of time there. Lastly, AOC and Marketplace. That's the picture on the bottom right. This facility, we began using this facility about a year or two ago. It's where we have the majority of our clinics as well as our ASC or our outpatient surgery. We also have a lot of the labs that we utilize exist in this facility. So we have the KED lab here, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And we spend a significant portion of our residency here as well on some of our more outpatient services. So we also do go to two satellite hospitals, FF Thompson, which is east of Rochester, and Strong West, which is west of Rochester. I would say we spend less than 5% of our actual time here. But if we have attendings who are doing surgeries at these locations, these are great experiences for us to get hands-on experience at other locations. As far as the actual didactics here, this was something that frequently came up in the questions that people had asked. So just to sum it up, on a weekly basis, we have lectures every Thursday. We have service-specific indications conferences once a week. We have fracture sign out every single day, 7:15 sharp. We have anatomy labs throughout the year. Historically, it's been 8. We're working on changing that to make them a little bit more efficient and effective for us. Grand rounds at least once a month, and they're starting to pick up over the next few months as well. Journal clubs, these are usually service specific, but everyone in the residency is often invited to these, and these will take place anywhere, at attendings houses, at bars or restaurants, or wherever. And these are a great chance for people to meet outside of work and kind of talk shop. So, I mentioned the KED lab earlier. This is located specifically in that new outpatient, the ambulatory orthopedic clinic that we have. So, this KED lab is actually a great resource for us. We utilize this with organized labs, which we have typically 1 to 3 per month. And it's a chance for us to get real hands-on experience outside of the OR in an environment without patients, where we can, get to play with the different implant systems, utilize the arthroscopy simulators. We have actual arthroscopy machines and devices where we can get scope experience. We'll also have some of the reps from the different fracture equipment that we use to help bring some of the equipment for us to, get reps with, again, fixing fractures on cadavers in a safe environment. Some of the other benefits that we get here are large support to attend different conferences and courses. And I list some of the courses here specifically, including AO Basic and OTA Basic, which when you're all residents, you'll get a chance to attend. As PGY 5s, we all will attend the Academy meeting. The department will also help fund us to attend the Miller Review, which is the board review course that everyone takes upon graduating residency, and funding for presentations. So this is a fairly, if you want research, it's here. And one of the nice things about this place is that they fully support that. So if you're presenting a poster or presenting a podium, it's not very difficult to get departmental support for travel and to attend those conferences. Additionally, education funding wise, there is an education fund that each resident gets. It's changed a little bit since I was an intern, but the education fund can be used for things like textbooks. We use it for lead, loops, and anything that I've needed to really just kind of be a resident here as far as that stuff goes. I haven't had to pay a cent out of my own pocket because I've been able to fund it through this fund. We also have opportunities for sports coverage, which goes into our education fund, and we can use those for things like, again, attending courses, buying any equipment we might need, like, new thyroid shields and things like that, which is pretty nice. And lastly, the intern skills month. All of our interns will spend a month without any other clinical duties. Clinical duties are folded into that, but it's a month where they get to spend just dedicated to getting some reps with some of the more orthopedic specific things. And they'll have one-on-one or two-on-one labs with our attendings, get chances to assist in the OR and things like that. But it's just a good chance to get them away from the other clinical stuff so that they can get more hands-on experience with orthopedic specific activities. So this is just a quick snapshot of our rotation schedule. Um, you can see I broke it down into our intern year, PGY2, PGY3, and then PGY4/5. Uh, I mentioned this earlier. I would say one of the things people say about this place is that it's a very well balanced program. So you can see that we get experience in everything. And we spend, a fairly significant amount of time on the ones that I think are important for anybody as they develop into surgeons. We have a large portion of our residencies are spent on trauma or trauma related rotations. And one of the side benefits about this schedule as well is that we don't have anything offsite. So everything is here. We don't have to travel to another city or another state for oncology or pediatrics because everything is nested in-house, which is very nice and convenient. Another thing that was asked frequently was our call schedule. And truthfully, when I was applying as a medical student, I didn't understand a lot of how this stuff worked. The gist, I think the big thing to understand is for our PGY 1 and 2 years, the majority of our calls are taken weekend only. We have specific rotation dedicated to residents taking consults in the ED Sunday through Friday, which is very nice because it actually protects the rest of us from having to worry about taking overnight call in the middle of the weeks. As third-year residents, it's a similar setup, but we're primarily responsible for call at Highland Hospital under a similar schedule. We also take about once every 7 or 8 days backup call, which is home call. As senior residents or PGY 4s and 5s, you can see here, because we have so many residents here, our call schedule comes out to roughly Q14 or every 14 days. The reason it's not Q16 is because we have 2 seniors on spine who are on call approximately every 3 to 5 days, but only when they're on the spine rotations. So Derek Schloman, I'm going to talk to you guys about the research track here.
Hi, my name is Derek Schloman. I'm a final year resident. I did the research track in our program. This is a separate year dedicated to research between the PGY2 and PGY3 clinical years. It's 1 resident per year. This is a separate match number, so you kind of know on match day if this is you. There's no drawing straws or any decision making after the fact. You're paid based on your year that you've been in Rochester, not your clinical year, as stated here. It's pretty self-directed, I would say. You're encouraged to kind of pursue any area of research interest. There's several full-time research faculty in our department, I think around 14 or so, many of whom have NIH funding for their research. And you're encouraged to work with these people who are clearly carrying out research at a very high level. Many have prior research experience who end up going down this track. Almost everyone ends up applying for external funding for their project. Some of the funding sources are listed here. There's also some intramural funding available as well. I'd say residents typically graduate with 10 or more publications, most typically secured grant funding. And as mentioned before, there's typically funding available to attend conferences if you have something to present. In addition to the lab resources I mentioned, there are statisticians you can work with that can help with those things, research coordinators that can help with recruitment, preparing IRBs, and other things that need to be coordinated, as well as other people to collaborate with on your research. The Center for Musculoskeletal Research is kind of the research division in our department. As I mentioned, you're encouraged to pursue research in any area of interest. One main basic science or translational project is typically carried out, and typically residents carry out more clinical-based research in addition to that. Excuse me. With a little feedback here. I just want to emphasize that this is very self-directed. You're encouraged to pursue any area of research that may be interested to you, but there's not a lot of hand holding, and it's kind of on the resident to make this a worthwhile experience. These are the list of recent and upcoming research residents here. There's a wide variety of interest in the future among these residents.
This is just a list of the graduates from the last 6 years, including my class. One of the questions that was frequently asked was where residents typically wind up after they finish here and what specialties they go into. And I think this is a fairly normal distribution. Obviously, sports is a little overrepresented here. I think last year we had half of our graduating class going to sports, but you can see like we have people going into everything. And I rank ordered them just so you can see how it's been over the last what the average has been over the last 6 years. But this just gives you a sense of where residents from this program lined up once they finish.
So Dr. Johnson has taken over the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion committee. He is new this year. He's really spearheaded a lot of different changes and kind of made the committee so that it's 4 different focus groups. One of the focus groups he really wants to highlight is Celebrate, and Celebrate is essentially kind of looking at the already existing diversity of our department. We are historically known as one of the most diverse programs, as well as one of the most female-friendly programs that's out there. So he does want to celebrate kind of the already diverse nature of our program. This includes things like sending out a cultural calendar and shares essentially all of the different events that happen over the years, things like Ramadan, Easter, Eid, Pride Month, Black History Month, things like that. Additionally, he's hosting kind of different people that come to speak at grand rounds, people from different backgrounds. Other focus groups include things like recruitment. So this committee essentially works to recruit medical students, residents, and faculty to the University of Rochester. It works pretty close to the Connect focus group, which reaches out to organizations that are already in place, like the Ruth Jackson Orthopedic Society, Nth Dimension, Perry Initiative, Pride Ortho, just to get our name out there as being a diverse program. And then the last group that we're focusing on is the Retain focus group. Essentially, any residents and faculty members, trainees that are here, we want to keep them here. This program essentially helps to build a safe place for confidential communication and support efforts.
So my name's John. I'm one of the PGY 5 residents. I'm going to talk to you guys about kind of family life. Oh, no, you have one more slide.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Whoa, bad luck. That wasn't representative, guys. Okay. They pay attention to us and love us. Minto, shut it. Okay, as we talked about earlier, this slide is not very informational. It's more so kind of vibes, but the residency is 20% female. The faculty, I don't know the exact number, but we have a large proportion of female faculty, especially compared to a lot of programs in the country. And as Irby just talked about, we have the Perry Initiative and RJOS sponsorship and things that really do sort of uplift the female residents in the program. And I think a lot of us, especially in the younger classes, are really trying to cultivate a culture where like that is something we really prioritize, being welcoming and of like all different types of people, obviously women and anyone else of any gender. So I think that's just something we are actively thinking about, especially in a field like orthopedics that's been so male dominated. Despite Minto's effort to eclipse this slide.
Sorry, I just thought that we'd fold in women into the diversity slide, but I guess not. So like I said, my name's John. I'm one of the senior residents. I'm going to talk to you guys about family life. So I have 5 kids. I had 3 kids in medical school and then 2 kids here in residency. So this first slide just shows you all of the kids that have been born since I've been a resident. So we've had 10 kids born. Not all of them are the children of current residents, but I think it speaks to the fact that we're a pretty family-friendly program that, you know, multiple residents, I mean, have felt comfortable having children in residency. So, you know, one of the things I think was important to me when I was choosing a place was finding a place that would allow me to balance being a father and being a good resident. And so when, I don't know why this is still going, but it's going without me. And I don't mean it to, but, so, you know, one of the things I was looking at in a program was a place that I felt like I could achieve that balance. And I think I've found that in this program, certainly, given the fact that I've had 2 more kids and I'm a little crazy, the fact that I've had 5. But some of the highlights of just the area. So the first slide, which I'm just technologically inept, I guess. Here we go. There's a lot to do for families in the area. So this is the Strong Play Museum. It's pretty awesome. Honestly, it's as fun for adults as it is for kids. And I kind of want to go without my kids sometime because it shows like the history of toys and all that if you're an adult. And then there's just a lot of fun stuff for kids to do as well. You can see some of the things my kids doing. Man, here we go. Thomas talked about Canandaigua Lake. There's actually a variety of Finger Lakes in the region. So not just Canandaigua. This is Cayuga Lake. This top left picture is Tacanic Falls up by Cayuga Lake. There's a lot to do on the Finger Lakes. If you have a family, you can kayak, you can fish. There's hiking. This is Seabreeze. This is one of the local amusement parks in the area, which my kids love. This is just painful. Guys, this is as painful for you as it is for me, I'm sure. Well, why won't you go to the next slide then? No. So this is Greystones. This is every year the pediatric department puts on a snow tubing event. Families are invited. So this is my kids at the most recent one. We had a blast. It was actually unseasonably warm, so you could see the grass kind of beside the snow there, but my kids still loved it. You can go to the next slide now. Besides the things just in the area, there's also a lot in kind of the adjacent area. So this is Niagara Falls. We went as a family recently, which was another great event for us. Next slide. Seneca Park Zoo, it's a local zoo. I have a ton of photos from the zoo, and I should have put even more in because at this zoo, you can get pretty close to the animals, to be honest. There's like this bus that's like in the lion exhibit that my kids love. But again, just a ton of things for your family to do if you have kids or if you plan on starting a family while you're in residency. Next slide. I think that might be it. So just to sum up, like, honestly, I think that this program has been really supportive of me and of all the residents who have had kids, all the residents who have wanted to have kids. We do a lot of family friendly events. We're having a huge pickleball event in December. That's going to be like a pickleball slash Christmas party. We had a pickleball event like 3 weeks ago where my family came, a bunch of the attendings families came, all the kids hang out. It was pretty great. So I think if you have a family, if you're looking for a balanced program, I think that this is a program to seriously consider. Back to Andrew. There's no women's slide that I need to worry about. Is that?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right, next slide, please. So I guess the last few are just some slides of us doing things. One thing that I added here, every class gets 1 or 2 class mentors, and this has been a great resource, just as having people who are sort of dedicated to serving as mentors for your specific group of people. I found that it's been great. You can see my class is on the bottom right. Dr. Manava is not pictured, but Dr. Nelson's on the bottom right in that group. Sorry, Dr. Manava is pictured. He's in the middle in that Bills cap. That's why I didn't see him there. But it's been great having these guys as resources to utilize, both for advice and just life stuff outside of work. So, we talked to you guys a lot about the program and the family aspect of it. One of the great things about you're going to hear this, I think, from a lot of places. You're going to ask places, what's your favorite part about your program, and everyone's going to say the people or the culture. That's pretty hard to quantify. I didn't really know how to, or we didn't really know how to best portray that, other than just showing a bunch of photos of people actually doing stuff outside of work. And this has been a great place for that. Thomas and John, they both spoke about all the things that you can do outside of work, and it really has given us a good opportunity as a group, to do things outside of just being at the hospitals. Even though we do spend a lot of time there, there's been a lot of stuff that we've been able to take advantage of in the region and outside of work. Just some more of that, and yeah. So just some last minute things. If you have any further questions, if they're in the chat box, which there are none, feel free to go ahead and add some. Just some more housekeeping things. So my understanding, or Bonnie, you can please correct me if I'm wrong, but we will offer the interview dates on the Universal Interview Day on the 18th of November. We're going to have 2 interview dates, both in 2025 on January 4th and 11th. A plug from Yasmin and Cindy to follow us on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for joining. I think these were some of the things that we weren't able to answer specifically from the questions. And I think we can have people in the room just sort of panel style chime in on these topics. So the first one, what are some of the things you do with co-residents outside of work?
There's a question in the chat, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. Are there any associate PDs of this program? No.
Like an assistant program director.
No.
Long answer.
Some of the things you do with co-residents outside of work. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Operative experience for your residents. How many cases do you typically log by graduation? So operative experience, I'll say, to be totally honest, it's on the top heavy side. I'd say our true experience starts more like PGY3, where we're really high volume, majority of the week is spent in the OR. That being said, by the time we graduate, I think our program is over the 90th percentile for case volume in the country. When I was a PGY2 was the last time I checked in earnest, we were in the 93rd percentile, 92nd percentile. And most, if not all, the residents here are well clear of this proverbial 2,000 cases by the time we graduate.
Josh just answered.
And one of our interns has logged.
That's because he logs them.
I have logged 110 cases among 2 months of being an intern. Okay.
It's just for perspective.
No one asked. Another question. Do PGY1 and 2 residents typically take call on their own, or do they typically have backup from a more senior resident? There's always, that's a good question. At Strong, there's always a senior resident on call. It's a PGY4 or a 5. Yeah, so that answers that. There's Derek with actual helpful numbers.
Justin, to go further into the having backup, even when I'm a PGY3, and even when you're at Highland as a PGY3, you don't have per se a chief on call there for you, but the attendings are very responsive. So I would say in our program in general, if there's ever a question, there's a senior on call that you could always call over at Strong, or B, you could just go straight to the attendings, and they're very responsive to that.
All right, so next question, how much, oh, it's moving. How much is resident autonomy, surgical planning, and in the OR as you progress with training? So, I mean, I think to answer this question, by and large, your autonomy grows as the further you go on. I think as you're becoming a senior resident, even in your second and third year, as you're getting into the OR more, it's expected that you're coming up with surgical plans and actually thinking about the cases beforehand. The attendings don't expect you to know everything, but they do expect you to have critical thinking and a process of how you're approaching cases. So when you're coming in, as an intern in a PGY2, you're thinking about, how do I want to set up the room? How am I going to get the best x-rays? But that progresses as you're 3, 4, and 5, where you're actually taking chief call, and they're really expecting you to, take charge and, progress through the cases on your own. They're always there in the room with you, or if you need any help or assistance, but they certainly are there as a resource. But the further that you go on, the more autonomy you're going to get. And if you're preparing for these cases and the attendings are trusting you, they're going to let you go a little bit more.
So any community service as a group, or are there any community service opportunities? So yes, and this is kind of hard to answer because when I started as an intern, things were shut down. So one of the things that actually drew me here was Dr. Maloney, one of our sports attendings, has a program. So Rochester is an interesting city, and there's a very large dichotomy between the wealthy and the not so wealthy neighborhoods. And so he has a program that works specifically with the Rochester city schools, which are mostly underserved and under-resourced, to facilitate and pertains to sports participation, sports checkups, physicals, things like that. He refers to it as, or it's called the CHAMP program, CHAMP with 2 P's. So we have things like that within the department, and there are opportunities for that sort of thing. Truthfully, and things like the Perry Initiative. So we definitely have those types of resources or those types of opportunities if that's something that you want to take advantage of.
Every year we have a Perry Initiative here, that students here has implemented as well. The diversity, equity, and inclusion committee also is really more about the stuff. So we're going to a high school and underrepresented areas to do more outreach stuff, just to get our names out there, but also to kind of talk to students who are not very familiar with what orthopedics is, and get them kind of more involved.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly add too, is even if it's not through the orthopedics department, there are a number of opportunities through the med school and just in the community in general. So we're, like, as Andrew said, a town that's pretty divided in terms of like financial equity. And also there are a lot of people who really care about the community at the med school. So even as a resident, sometimes they're really looking for anyone with an MD to really help with some of their initiatives. So I precepted a clinic for people reentering society from prison like last week, which is something you can do through the med school. And the med students are always looking for doctors. A lot of times it's people in specialties that aren't orthopedics, but if people in orthopedics were interested in that kind of work, the medical students would absolutely be very excited to work with anyone who was interested. So there are a lot of opportunities for outreach and for community service in Rochester.
Yeah. Oh, good questions. Who's the best at pickleball from the group? The most important question.
This is a good question.
Dr. Voloshin.
Are there any plans for the program growing or changing in the next few years? I mean, I don't foresee that happening. There's 8 residents. I think that, the department continues to grow. They're bringing in more attendings, and there's more opportunities for us to work with attendings, particularly on these outpatient rotations and also at the satellite areas. But, I don't think that we are planning on growing our residency in the next or the foreseeable future. I think 8 is a pretty good number. It keeps our, quality of life pretty good in terms of call. But yeah.
I can answer that for sure. There's no application in to expand our program, and we're always changing in some ways, but generally growing and trying to add features.
Plans for residents. Officially, we get like call money. Unofficially, we get fed all the time. Like attendings on call will buy food. We're constantly having like dinners and things. So
We just had a Chick-fil-A today.
Yeah.
So
We get breakfast every education.
how involved are faculty in resident education and didactics? Attendings are giving all the lectures, and there's always an attending at almost always an attending at the labs. Someone direct DM'd us who's the best pickleball player, and I think Dr. Voloshin is,
Or Dr. Molinari, it's tough.
or Dr. M.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Voloshin is nationally ranked.
I mean, we haven't seen it through and play head to head, so
Oh, yeah.
12-7 to be determined.
TBD.
VA experience. No, we don't have a large VA, at least in the Rochester area. So that is one experience that we don't get here as residents. I'm gonna let Melissa or Jimmy, who's hiding in the corner over there, answer this one. With the medical school there, do y'all take on any formal or informal mentorship role? Yeah.
Yeah, the question is with the medical school here, do you take on any formal and informal mentorship roles to med students interested in orthopedics? Also, are you in your team room? All right. So the question is, as far as mentorship to med students, like, yes, absolutely. A lot of our med students go on to become residents, and we have many med students who like go on to become residents either here or elsewhere around the country. So there's a ton of opportunities for mentorship of med students, either like clinically in the ORs. We always have medical students coming down to the pit, which is our kind of a glorified closet that we run consults out of in the ED. So like the med students, like pretty much in the med school know, and I mean like Melissa and Hashem and like everyone's taken it who went to med school here is taking advantage of that. It's pretty much just an open door policy. So they all know they're welcome down there anytime. There's always consults coming in, and they're always around to kind of help us out with the consults. And then there's also like really big research opportunities with the med students as well. So like I have a ton of med students right now that I'm doing research with. And I mean, it's actually pretty fulfilling. You get to work with them pretty much when they start out as a first year, and you get to know them through the 4 years up through like their application cycle and everything. And you actually get to like see a project to completion with the medical students. So like that's been really fulfilling. Like for me and like Hashim and Melissa, we did projects together that spanned like over years, and now they're interns. So that part is definitely there and is super available if you're interested in that. And then there's also like med student skills labs. I could go on, but yes, that's definitely there. And then no, this is not our I think the question was like, is this our team room at the hospital? No, this is like a social. This is, yeah. I mean that would be awesome, but this is a social. This is like a social room at my apartment complex where like some of the other interns live too, and like Jeff Coombs lives here too, and so yeah. But so that this is not the team room, but I agree it would definitely be an inspiring space if it was. All right, here, Andrew.
Oh man.
Also, I feel like we'd be remiss to say in that
Wait.
question.
Wait. There are more questions.
In the question about like faculty involvement, also in the intern skills, we work 2-on-1 directly with faculty, which is great.
Role of PAs and NPs in clinic OR. They're a great resource. We get to know the APPs here very well. There's APPs in every division. I will say that if the concern has to do with like who scrubs cases, the resident experience is always prioritized, and the PAs are just they're great to work with as well.
I would say the majority of the time the PAs are a second assistant. Highland, our kind of community hospital, where we do most of our joints. And in the odd instance when we have 2 residents scrub a case and we don't need a second assist from a PA, they just don't scrub in the case and they go upstairs. So they rarely in any way interfere with our educational experience. To be honest, they kind of only enhance it because they help us out in a lot of ways. They take care of a lot of our grunt work, right? So they do especially at the Highland Hospital, the community hospital, they take care of our orders for us. They help manage the floor patients. So they kind of decompress some of that grunt work burden for us and allow us really to focus on the operating room. But I don't think that they really interfere in our operative experience at all.
And on the floors, they cover the floors during the day, and so they're working closely with the trauma intern to make sure that the floors are taken care of and take a lot of the work off of the primary team in the ortho service by taking care of all of the discharges.
Peds experience, caseload rotations. Does anyone want to take this?
I could take it. I just looked up my case numbers. Pediatric experience. So there's 4 pediatric orthopedics faculty that we work with. It's a mix of clinic and operating room. I just looked up my cases. I've logged 248 in residency. You have to get 200. There's been, basically in our residency, you do it as an intern, as a 2 or 3 for 3 months, and then as a 4 or a 5 for about 6 weeks. Your intern rotation, I think it's varied a little bit, but generally either 4 or 6 weeks. It's kind of varied a little bit across the years. And as you move on, just like with anything else, you get greater autonomy. There's a great group of people to work with and great group of patients to help.
We'll say PEDS is one of those where as an intern, you get heavy office experience very, very early on. They'll let you do the vast majority of straightforward cases on the back half of your intern year.
The other thing, in addition to the 4 dedicated pediatric orthopedists that we have, like Dr. Luzri, his main interest is pediatric spine. And then we also have Dr. Sarah Lander, who's a pediatric sports specialist. So there's actually, in addition to those 4 dedicated pediatric surgeons, there's other surgeons around the department that you work with. And all of that kind of gets you that broad pediatric orthopedics experience, and gets you like those varied perspectives, which you might not necessarily get if you were having like just a straight peds ortho experience. So it's really a varied and diverse experience.
I would also say a big part of it is like close reductions and casting, which you get as the consult resident. I think, you log like around 100 or even more during your PGY2 year of just close reductions and castings and feeds.
Yeah, Nikhil came through a little muffled there, but he was saying that it's also perfectly reasonable and accepted in the ACGME case log system to log your close reductions that you do in the pit. I personally, I'm just starting my chief peds experience. I haven't logged any chief peds cases. I already have over 200 pediatric orthopedics surgeries, and I haven't logged any of my closed reductions from the pit. So you get a really robust experience here.
Yeah. Oh, do you get time?
Yeah, there's 2. Come back to that.
Also not answered it. Yeah, flex rotation is cool.
There's still more. Okay, the question is, do you get discounted memberships at local gyms, health clubs, or access to undergrad facilities? The answer overall is yes. There's a hospital gym across the street, which we get a discounted membership to. I think it's like $10 or $15 a month. It can come out of your paycheck. You can also get access to the undergrad gym, which is a separate membership. When I started residency, it was around $20 to $25 a month. That's pretty extensive, has like basketball courts and a pool and everything. Then there's a program through our insurance where you can join like 20 different gyms across the area for a flat fee of like $28 a month. So there's a lot of, and then you can also, sign up for whatever else. There's a couple of gyms that aren't included, but there's a lot of options there.
Yeah, and like the YMCA, you get like a pretty good discount as well. And like it's a really nice gym. It's very like inclusive.
Yeah, you can go to any single YMCA in Rochester. I just signed up yesterday because I got off my parents' plan. But yeah, so I was in Canandaigua today, which is 40 miles south, and I was able to go work out there after I was doing cases down there. So
speaking of kids being on the family plan, we have, we're sad to watch that.
Irving, you have your elective coming up. Do you want to talk about elective? If she's there. I think electives are another good thing to talk about.
You want to get us started, Nikhil?
Yeah, so I mean, during your PGY 4 or 5 year, when you're on the PEDS rotation, 6 weeks of it, you're on an elective. What that means is you get to build basically your own experience, predominantly anywhere in the United States. And then there's some exceptions to go out of the country as well. But so, for example, during my 4th year is when I did PEDS, so that's also when I did my elective. I spent 6 weeks at Rockman, South Jersey, which is where one of our previous graduating residents did his fellowship. So I went there for a few weeks during his fellowship to do basically joint cases down there. And I kind of used it as kind of like a sub-I experience and, got an interview for a fellowship from there. So, I mean, all different residents they're going into different fields. So it's a great way to just expand your network, get a different opportunity. And it's really build your own. So you can do pretty much anything with it within some parameters.
Next question. Do you work with fellows as well, or just primarily with attendings? We have several fellows in the department. I think maybe a total of like 6 or 7. There's 2 sports fellows, 1 foot, 1 spine, 1 trauma, 1 hand. I think that's about it. I mean, this isn't really a super fellow heavy program. We certainly interact with them, but largely we're not scrubbing cases with them unless it's complex case on trauma, or sometimes for sports, if we do a case with them, the attending won't scrub and we just kind of do it with them. It's usually like the open cases as opposed to the scope. So there's certainly a fellow presence, but this isn't somewhere where we're fighting for cases with 25 different fellows.
Yeah, the thing I was just add is the place is busy enough that the fellows are pretty much like, sometimes you'll be in the same room with them, but oftentimes they'll be in a completely separate room and you'll be in a room with a different attention, like having your own experience. So the fellows haven't really hindered me like at all.
Yes. Cool.
Okay. All right, so we don't have any new questions in the chat, but some of the questions that we haven't answered from the prior questions and answers that you guys uploaded into the document was, what is your favorite restaurant? Which I feel like is a fun question. Mine is Vern's. Derek, thoughts?
Whichever one of them for me.
I don't know. I mean, I would have said red before, but I went to Mac's Chop House the other day. It's probably my top one.
Jay?
Oh shoot. Oh, there's actually quite a few. Not as many Asian restaurants, but it's okay. There's a decent amount. I like Tornado's Steakhouse. We have a pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. That's the next question.
Oh, wait. Oh, Dr. Rogerson said tornadoes.
See? Oh, Dr. M. Dr. M. All
Good
right.
luck.
Good luck.
Hey, no, that looks good.
Oh, it's from Dr. Mel, but
Yeah.
oh.
Right. Pepper pig and Aveeno. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. I think we are essentially, oh, tropical smoothie from Cindy Wang. I think we're about ready to essentially finish this up unless there's any last minute questions you guys have. But if not, thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you got to know our residency a little bit better. And if you need anything, some of the residents, if they feel comfortable, will like drop their emails. I'll drop mine. And you can feel free to like, oh yeah, feel free to reach out to us with any questions. If not, have a wonderful night.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.